Alright, welcome back everybody. We are going to do a tomato review today on this tomato right here. And this tomato is called the Hank tomato. And again, there's some history behind this tomato. And you'll be able to read about that in the description. Or you can visit the website and you can read about it there. But there is some information and there is a little bit of a history behind this tomato. It's a very interesting tomato. I've never quite seen a tomato like this before. But it's a very nice tomato. Apparently it's been around for a while. But basically what it is, if you look at it, it's basically like a flattened cherry. And it looks almost like a flattened pumpkin, fairy tale pumpkin. And it's very flat and it's got a nice, gorgeous little pink color to it. As you can see, I'll try to bring you up. Alright, that's what it looks like from the top. I'm going to turn it to the side. Give you an idea. That's what it looks like. It's about that thick on the side. And it's about like that on the bottom. And if I compare it to a dime, for example, I'll give you an idea what a dime is. You see that's like a dime? That's the size of this tomato. It's a very small tomato. This is actually one of the larger size. They can range in size. You know, I mean, you got ones like this. It's a little bit smaller. And let me see if I got a cherry tomato to give you an idea of what an average cherry tomato is. Okay, so that's like an average cherry tomato size. And so you can see this size is it isn't too much bigger than a cherry tomato. So it's a flattened type of cherry tomato. And let me show you what the inside looks like, and then we'll weigh it and then get right into the Brix numbers. Alright, so that's what it looks like on the inside. It's got a very interesting pattern. It has basically a cross in the middle. Then it has like a Maltese cross in the middle. So it's a cross with a Maltese in the middle. 4-chambered tomato. Very interesting variety of tomato. Let's move this over. And let's give you a weight on that. Give you an idea what they weigh. Let's see here. Take average size, that's about 0.6. Here's one of the larger ones, 0.7. Here's a little larger, this is the largest one on the table. These actually get a little bigger than this too, by the way. I've had them these get as big as maybe twice the size of that. So they can get pretty large, but not real big. Most of the tomatoes that are coming off of this plant are generally what you see here, but I have a few of them on there that are getting pretty sizable. This one's about 1 ounce. So that's just, here's a small one. It's probably not even going to pick that up. The small one's about 0.3. So they go from anywhere between 0.3 of an ounce all the way up to 1 ounce, maybe about 1.25 ounces. So they do have a little bit of a range in weight, which means they have a range in size. Okay, so that's good on that. Let's go over and do a Brix. Basically, we give it a little squeeze. See what the Brix says. Okay, it's about 4.5 on the Brix. Nothing spectacular. It's a little below 5. Not too impressed with that. It could just be that that tomato wasn't fully ripened, because you could see on the inside here, you could see that the meat in the middle is still kind of green. So that's not really a good indicator for me to really give you a Brix number. So we'll cut this one open here. I want to give it a fair review. Okay, so as you can see here, you can see that it's much more ripe, much pinker. This should give me a little bit higher of a number. If it doesn't, then it is what it is, right? I don't think that when I see the flesh on the inside look like that, it's telling me that it's just not ripe enough, you know. Plenty of juice on that thing. Let's see what that says. Wow, that's even worse. Huh. This one is 3.5. Okay, so this one's even less sweet than the one that I thought wasn't ripe. And that one actually had more sugar in it. So, all right, so let's do a taste test on it and see what it tastes like. Wow, that's all tang. And I'm removing the seeds too. It's tangy. The flesh is very tangy. Cut one more open. I really don't feel like it's going to be a fair. This one's 3-chambered. No, it's 4 chambers. I don't think I'm going to give this one a fair. I'm not going to give it a fair reading. It's very low on sweetness. It's almost non-existent. Unfortunately, not happy with that. Eat one more. This one looks really ripe. All right, let's put the chart on there and try to give this a review. Unfortunately, I'm a little disappointed. I can tell you that right now. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I'm not exactly pleased with this one. All right, let's go over the numbers. Okay, so straight out the gate, sweetness was basically non-existent. It was one of the lowest sweetness tomatoes I think I had this year. Sweetness was basically, I don't know, you want to go 5 on that, 6? I mean, there was virtually no sweetness at all. It was just bland, nothing. I didn't taste any sweetness at all. I wouldn't go, I can't go to 0 because there may have been some sweetness on it, or the tangy would have been bitter. But it wasn't bitter. So, I mean, there had to have been some kind of sweetness there. I didn't taste it. And so I'm going to go maybe anywhere between, just to be fair, we'll say between 6 and 10 on the sweetness. It was basically non-existent. Tanginess wasn't overwhelmingly tangy, but it was, I'll probably put the tangy at about 25 on the tangy. So there was no sweetness. Tangy was about average. Tomato flavor was pretty prominent. It had a pretty good, strong flavor to it. I'll put it about average on that. So we're going to go 5 on the tomato flavor. It wasn't heavy, wasn't low. It was there, but nothing to brag about, I guess. Moisture was pretty good. We're going to put that at the sweet spot, and the moisture was really good at the moisture level. So we're going to say between 6 and 6.5 on the moisture. It was perfect moisture. Tardiness now, that had like a number, I'm going to say 2.5 on the tardiness, because it did have like the lemony type, tongue stingy type of tardiness to it. Had a soury type of, it just lights your tongue up basically, and so it had that lemony type effect to it. Not very strong, but it did have something there. We're going to go 2.5 on the tardy side of it. Undertones, there was probably maybe a little bit of an undertone to it. It wasn't much flavor, but because there was no sweetness and the tangy was low, everything, you could taste even the slightest undertone, it really is enhanced. So it's not very strong, but there was something in there. So we'll say 0.5 for the undertone. It was really low, but there was a little something in there. And the only reason why I was able to detect it is because the sweet and tangy is really low. So if that was normal, I wouldn't even have detected it. Texture is about average on that. We'll probably go 5 on the texture, nothing special. Skins, if I had to spit a couple of them out, maybe because I'm doing a review, but a little tough on that. So I don't know. We'll just go middle of the road on the texture. Say a 5 on that one. Production seems to be pretty good. We'll probably go 5.5 on the production. It wasn't insanely good, but the plant is still producing tons more of these tomatoes, and there's a bunch of them on there already. And so the production's about average, maybe a little bit above average. So how would I rate this tomato as a whole, as far as, rating it from number 1 to number 10 being the lowest? I'm not going to rate this tomato very high because of that reason. Unfortunately, all the reasons I just told you here. So this tomato is unfortunately going to get a very low rating, at least for this year it is. If one's going to be the highest, we're going to say this was basically all the way at the bottom. I'm going to put this tomato at about an 8, which isn't normally that low. I don't normally ever rate tomatoes that low, but this tomato was so awkward in flavor. It had no sweetness, basically. The tangy part was already low. We had some tardiness that was kind of almost, a number 2 on the tardy here is basically 50% on a tangy. I mean, that tardiness is very potent, a type of an effect. It tingles your tongue, sometimes even numbs your tongue, depending on the power of the tardiness. But there was something there. So the tardiness was almost equal with the tanginess, was kind of awkward. No sweetness. Tomato flavor was generally, And it's just all the numbers were definitely off on this thing. This isn't a tomato I would recommend you grow for production and I wouldn't recommend you grow for, like, you're looking for a good tasting tomato. This would not be it. However, what I will say is the tomato is an absolutely interesting looking tomato. And it is a fun tomato to grow. I will say that. It has a very interesting look to it. We might be able to change some of the flavoring on this tomato based on changing some of the soil. So maybe if we add a real lot of lime to it, this whole flavor profile might change. So there's no way to know until you experiment. It's my first year growing it, so I just basically grew it in regular soils. It should come up pretty average like what every other tomato would do, but this one is definitely, as of this year, is way out as far as what I would consider a good tomato. Very low rating on it. Again, I'm putting it at a number 8, which is, I mean, if it was number 10, it would basically mean I would never grow, or the tomato is not edible at number 10. If I tell you a tomato is 10, it's not an edible tomato. If I'm telling you it's a number 8, it's almost unedible. It's basically what I'm saying. Believe me, it's not a very nice tomato to eat. Though I will say it's a beautiful tomato, and it is productive. That's some of the the positive points about it. The aesthetics of the tomato is very interesting. I would grow this just to get these little tomatoes here and hand them out at carnivals, or put them out on Halloween. You put a bunch of these out, instead of giving the kids candy, you give them one of these things. Put these out for Halloween. Throw that inside of a Halloween. That would be really interesting. Outside of that, I mean, I can't really, unfortunately, I can't give this tomato a high rating. I'm very disappointed with that. I'm really going to try next year to really see if I can develop the flavor on this better. Maybe it needs a ton of lime in the soil. It needs a ton of rock dust. It needs it would probably taste different if I grew it in very high alkali soil. I know in regular soil like I'm growing now, it's terrible for me anyway. But give it a grow anyway. You might like it. Maybe it'd be fun for you to grow, just for you to, grow these type of shape of tomatoes. And or maybe you're a tomato collector like me, and you're going to collect these tomatoes regardless of what it looks like, tastes like. It doesn't matter. I collect all tomato varieties, and I log them, and then I basically, I'm like a seed library for tomatoes. So I'm going to keep the variety no matter what. And I am going to grow every so many years just to regrow the variety for the seed value. But in general, would I grow that to eat it? Nah, no way. I wouldn't want to eat one of those again, to be honest with you. But I don't know. We'll give it a try next year. We'll try to dope up the soil and see if we can get it to go. If not, it is what it is, guys, right? I mean, I did my best to try and, if the review is not going to be good, guys, I don't lie about it. I tell you the truth. I give you my honest opinion. But I will say, for you tomato collectors out there, you should buy the seed and grow it yourself anyway and add it to your little tomato collection. All right, so that's basically it. That's my review for the Hank tomato. A little disappointed on it. Whatever information I do have on the Hank tomato, which there is a little bit of history on it, I will put it in the description below. You can read about it there. I'll also put the information in I'll put the information on my website. You can read about it there. And remember, if I'm updating any of this information, I get new details on it, I'm only going to update the website, and I generally don't update the description in a YouTube video. I just don't have time to go back and do that. So always be sure to visit the website for updated information. I will also leave a link in the description where you can click the link and head over to the website, and you could purchase seed for this tomato if you decide that it's something you might want to grow. All right, but as of right now, the seed's not up yet, but it will be in about a week or two from the time this video gets posted. It takes time to build the page for it, so we'll make it available very soon. All right, so that's it. That's my tomato review for the Hank tomato. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.